The massive alien ship hung in space above Earth like a dark metal mountain. Its black hull stretched for miles in every direction, blocking out the stars behind it. Smaller ships floated around it like angry wasps, their red lights blinking. In the darkness, on Earth below, people looked up at the night sky and felt fear crawl up their spines. Admiral Vexitar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. His gray skin looked almost silver under the ship's lights. 4 arms crossed over his chest as he stared down at the blue planet below. Behind him, his officers worked at their stations, their clawed fingers dancing over alien controls. "Open all communication channels," Vexitar commanded. His voice sounded like grinding metal. "Let every human hear what I have to say." On Earth, President Minho sat in the emergency meeting room deep under Sol. The walls were white and clean, but they felt like a prison now. Other world leaders appeared on screens around him, their faces pale with worry. Some were crying. Others just stared at nothing. The main screen flickered to life. Admiral Vexitar's face filled it, his yellow eyes cold and empty. When he spoke, translation devices turned his words into every human language. "People of Earth," the alien said, "I am Admiral Vexitar of the Korthak Empire. Your planet now belongs to us. You have 72 hours to surrender. Lay down all weapons. Stop all military activity, accept our rule. If you refuse, we will destroy your world and everyone on it." The screen went black. The room fell silent except for the sound of people breathing too fast. Minho closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, he looked around the room at the other leaders. "How many ships do we have?" he asked quietly. General Park, the head of Earth's military, looked down at his tablet. 300 ships total. Most are small fighters. We have 12 big warships." He paused. "Sir, they have thousands of ships. Each one is bigger than our largest battleship." President Chen from the Chinese Federation shook her head. "It's hopeless. We should surrender now, before they kill everyone." "No," said President Johnson from the American Union. "We fight. Even if we lose, we fight." Minho looked at each face on the screens. These were the most powerful people on Earth, and they looked like scared children. "I need to think," he said. "We'll meet again in 6 hours." The screens went dark, one by one, until Minho sat alone in the White Room. He put his head in his hands and tried not to cry. Far above the Earth, Commander Jiho stood on the bridge of his ship, Sol's Pride. It was Earth's newest battleship, but next to the alien fleet, it looked like a toy. Through the windows he could see the enemy ship spread across space like a disease. "Sir," said his communication officer, Lieutenant Subin, "we're getting strange orders from Earth Command." Jiho frowned and walked over to read the message. The words made no sense. "Maintain position, wait for the signal, trust the plan." "What plan?" Jiho asked out loud. But Lieutenant Subin had no answer. On the other side of the ship, Captain Dongmin checked his own orders. They were the same strange message. He had commanded ships for 20 years, but he had never seen orders like these. What signal? What plan? His crew looked at him with worried eyes, waiting for answers he didn't have. Back on Earth, Dr. Nari ran through the underground tunnels beneath the Sol Research Center. Her white lab coat flew behind her as she rushed toward her secret laboratory. The tunnels were old and narrow, built during the war 50 years ago. Most people had forgotten they existed. She reached a heavy metal door and pressed her hand against a scanner. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, the room was filled with machines that hummed and glowed with blue light. Screens showed numbers and graphs that changed every second. Nari's assistant, Dr. Seojin, looked up from his work. "The quantum fields are stable," he said. "But if we activate the system now, the aliens will detect it." "Not yet," Nari said. She looked at the countdown timer on the main screen. 71 hours and 37 minutes until the alien deadline. "We wait for the right moment." Seojin nodded, but his hands shook as he worked. "Dr. Nari, what if the plan doesn't work? What if we're wrong about everything?" Nari stopped typing and looked at him. Then we die. But if we're right, the aliens are in for the biggest surprise of their lives. High above them, Sub-Commander Tajan stood in the alien ship's data center. He looked human, but his uniform was alien metal and cloth. 10 years ago, he had been Captain Tajan of the Earth Defense Force. Now he served the Korthak Empire. He studied the sensor readings from the alien fleet. Everything looked normal. Earth's small fleet stayed in position, not moving to attack. The planet's military bases were quiet. It seemed like the humans had already given up, but something felt wrong. Tajan had been human once. He knew how humans thought and fought. They never gave up this easily. There had to be something else. Something hidden. He walked to Admiral Vextar's command station. "Sir, I recommend we scan the entire solar system. Again, the humans might be hiding something." Vextar's forearms moved in what passed for a laugh among his people. "Hiding what? Their primitive ships are in plain sight. Their weapons are weak. Their technology is ancient. What could they possibly hide from us?" "I don't know, sir," Tajan said. "But in all my time serving Earth, I learned one thing. Humans are very good at surprises." "You worry too much, Sub-Commander," Vextar said. "In 70 hours, this planet will belong to the Empire. The humans will serve us or die. There is no third option." Tajan bowed his head and walked away, but the feeling in his stomach wouldn't go away. Something was wrong. He could feel it. On Earth, the hours passed slowly. People gathered in the streets, in churches, in their homes. Some prayed. Some cried. Some just held each other and waited for the end. In the underground bunker, President Minho met with his military leaders again. General Park spread a map of the solar system across the table. Red dots showed where the alien ships waited in space. "We could try to evacuate some people to the moon base," General Park said. "Maybe save a few thousand." "And then what?" Minho asked. "Hide forever? Live in caves while the aliens rule our world?" "It's better than dying," said Admiral Hyuna, the head of the Space Navy. Minho looked at the map for a long time. Then he picked up a secure phone and dialed a number only 3 people on Earth knew. After a moment, a woman's voice answered. "Dr. Nari speaking." "Doctor," Minho said quietly, "how much more time do you need?" "Give me 60 hours, she said. "I promise you, Mr. President, in 60 hours everything will change." Minho hung up the phone and looked at his generals. "We wait," he said. "We wait, and we trust." "Trust in what?" General Park asked. "Trust in being human," Minho said. "Trust in 50 years of preparation. Trust in the fact that we are not as weak as we appear." Outside, night fell over Earth. Above them, the alien fleet waited like hungry wolves. The countdown continued. 68 hours, 43 minutes, 12 seconds. But deep underground, Dr. Nari worked at her machines. Numbers flowed across her screens like water. Energy readings climbed higher and higher. And somewhere in the darkness between dimensions, something vast and invisible began to stir. The aliens thought they knew everything about human strength and human weakness. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The battle erupted across 17 star systems in the same instant. Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of Incheon's Fury, watching reports flow in from across the galaxy. On his screens, phantom ships appeared near alien strongholds that had stood unconquered for centuries. Fortress worlds that the Empire thought were impossible to attack suddenly found themselves under assault by ships that materialized from empty space. "Status report from all sectors," Hyunwoo ordered. Captain Yoonji, his daughter and commander of the stealth operations, appeared on his communication screen. Her ship, Daegu's Shadow, was invisible even to other phantom ships. "Father, I'm in position above the alien capital world. Their planetary shields are down. The government buildings are defenseless." "Excellent work," Hyunwoo said. "Hold position but do not attack civilians. We're here to liberate, not conquer." Around Earth, the trapped alien fleet watched in horror as their empire crumbled. Admiral Vextar received fragmentary reports before his communications were cut off entirely. 3 major shipyards destroyed. The fortress at Korth Prime under siege. The alien high command bunker captured by human agents. "This is madness," Vextar whispered. "How did you get so many ships to so many places without us knowing?" Sub-Commander Taijun, the human defector, stared at the tactical displays with growing understanding. "They've been planning this for decades," he said quietly. "Every time we probed Earth's defenses, every time we tested their responses, they were learning about us, mapping our worlds, finding our weaknesses." On the alien flagship's detention level, Major Kangmin led a team of phantom commandos through corridors that shouldn't have been accessible. Their armor let them phase partially out of normal space, walking through walls and energy barriers, like they weren't there. "Cell Block 7 this way," Kangmin whispered into his communicator. They were here to rescue human prisoners that the aliens had taken over the years. Every captured explorer, every failed diplomat, every spy who had been caught. Today they all went home. The phantom commandos reached the prison cells. Inside, dozens of humans sat in chains, some of them captured years ago. Their faces showed disbelief when the rescue team appeared. "Major Park?" said one prisoner, an elderly woman in a torn Earth uniform. "Is that really you?" "It's Major Kangmin now, Ambassador Chen," he replied, cutting her chains with a molecular disruptor. "And yes, it's really us. Time to go home." As they led the prisoners toward their extraction point, they passed Sub-Commander Taijun in the corridor. The human defector stopped and stared at Major Kangmin. "I know you," Taijun said. "You served under Captain Morrison in the defense of Luna Base." "I remember you too," Kangmin replied. "Captain Taijun, we thought you were dead. I was captured 10 years ago. They offered me a choice. Serve the Empire or watch Earth burn." Taijun's voice was bitter. "I chose to serve." Kangmin looked at him for a long moment. Then he held out a spare weapon. "Today, you can choose again." Taijun stared at the weapon. Around them, alarms blared as phantom ships phased through the alien flagship's hull. His former species was winning a war he had thought impossible. He took the weapon. "What do you need me to do?" he asked. Back on Earth, Dr. Nari monitored the quantum field generators that kept the phantom ship stable in normal space. The strain on the equipment was enormous. Maintaining 50,000 ships across multiple star systems pushed the technology to its limits. Field coherence dropping to 87%, Dr. Seojin reported. "We can maintain this for maybe 6 more hours before the generators burn out." "That's enough time," Nari said. "Signal Admiral Hyunwoo. Phase 3 begins now." Throughout the galaxy, phantom ships began the most ambitious military operation in human history. They didn't just attack alien military targets. They liberated entire worlds. On the planet Zerion, Captain Suman's ship materialized above the slave camps where the aliens kept conquered species. Her ship's transporters began beaming up every non-alien life form on the planet. Millions of beings who had been slaves for generations suddenly found themselves on human ships, free for the first time in their lives. "This is Captain Suman of the Earth Liberation Fleet," she broadcast to the confused former slaves. "You are now under the protection of humanity. We're taking you to safety." Similar scenes played out across dozens of worlds. The aliens had built their empire on slavery and conquest. Now the slaves were being freed by ships that appeared and disappeared like ghosts. President Minho watched the liberation efforts from his bunker on Earth. Each rescued world was a victory not just for humanity, but for every species that had suffered under the alien empire. "Mr. President," General Park said, "we're receiving surrender offers from 17 alien sector commanders. They want to negotiate." "No negotiations," Minho said firmly. "Complete surrender only. They had their chance to be reasonable when they demanded our surrender. Now they face the consequences." On the alien flagship above Earth, Admiral Vextar found himself in an impossible situation. His fleet was surrounded by superior forces. His empire was crumbling. His communications were cut off. And now he was receiving reports that his own crew was helping the human prisoners escape. "Sub-Commander Taijun," he called. "Report to the bridge immediately." But Taijun was busy in the ship's computer core, downloading decades of alien intelligence for Major Kangman's team. The irony wasn't lost on him. He had betrayed humanity to serve the aliens. Now he was betraying the aliens to serve humanity again. "Admiral," he said when he finally reached the bridge, "I have something to tell you." Vextar turned toward him, and his yellow eyes widened in shock. Taijun was pointing a human weapon at his chest. "I resigned from the Korthak Empire," Taijun said. "I'm going home." Before Vextar could respond, phantom commandos materialized on the bridge. They had phased through the ship's hull directly into the command center. Within minutes, they had captured the entire alien command staff. Admiral Hyunwoo's face appeared on the bridge's main screen. "Admiral Vextar, you are now my prisoner. Your fleet will surrender immediately, or we will destroy it ship by ship." Vextar looked around the bridge at the phantom commandos, at the human weapons pointed at him, at the displays showing his empire under attack across the galaxy. His foreshoulders sagged in defeat. "I surrender," he said quietly. "All alien ships, this is Admiral Vextar." He broadcast to his fleet. "Stand down. Surrender to the human forces. The war is over." But the real work was just beginning. As alien ships powered down their weapons, phantom vessels began the massive task of processing thousands of prisoners and sorting out decades of imperial crimes. Captain Dongmin, whose small ship Soul's Pride had been part of the decoy fleet, found himself promoted to liaison officer between the Phantom Fleet and the regular Earth forces. He watched in amazement as alien crews were transported to prison ships, while liberated slaves were taken to hospital ships. "How long have you been planning this?" he asked Admiral Hyunwoo during a brief communication. "Since the day we first met them," Hyunwoo replied. "We knew this day would come. We just wanted to be ready." Dr. Nari's quantum generators finally began to fail after 8 hours of operation. But by then, the work was done. The alien fleet was captured. Their empire was broken. Millions of slaves had been freed. Field coherence dropping to critical levels, Dr. Seojin reported. "We need to phase the ships back to quantum space before the generators explode." "Not yet," Nari said. "We need to maintain the fields until every human agent is safely extracted from alien territory." Around the galaxy, human sleeper agents who had lived for decades on alien worlds began their evacuation. Some chose to stay and help rebuild the liberated planets. Others returned to Earth on phantom ships that flickered in and out of normal. Space Commander Jiho, who had watched the entire battle from his wife's laboratory, felt overwhelmed by what humanity had accomplished. "All those years I thought I was commanding Earth's strongest ship, but we were just the bait." "You were the heroes," Nari said, taking his hand. "You and every person in the decoy fleet. You made the aliens think we were weak. You let them underestimate us. Without you, none of this would have worked." The final phase of the operation began as phantom ships throughout the galaxy prepared to return to quantum space. They had struck hard and fast, crippling an empire in a matter of hours. Now they would vanish again, leaving only liberated worlds and confused aliens behind. But first, Admiral Hyunwoo had one more message to deliver. His face appeared on communication screens throughout the galaxy, reaching every species that had suffered under alien rule. "People of the galaxy," he said, "today the Korthak Empire has fallen. But humanity did not fight this war for conquest. We fought for freedom, for every enslaved species, for every conquered world, for everyone who has suffered under imperial tyranny." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "The phantom ships will return to the shadows now, but we will be watching. If any new empire rises to threaten the innocent, if any species attempts to conquer others, we will appear again. This is humanity's promise to the galaxy. The age of empires is over. The age of freedom has begun." One by one, the phantom ships began to phase back into quantum space. They flickered like fading stars, growing transparent, becoming ghosts again. 48 hours remained on the alien countdown when the strange readings began. Lieutenant Subin was the first to notice them. She sat at her sensor station on the Soul's Pride, watching the screens that showed empty space around Earth. Then something appeared at the edge of the solar system, a ship signature clear as day. She blinked and looked again. Nothing there. "Commander Jiho," she called out. "Sir, I'm getting weird readings from Sector 7. Jiho walked over and looked at her screen. "Show me." Subin played back the sensor data. For 3 seconds, the sensors had detected a massive ship near Jupiter. The computer said it was bigger than anything Earth had ever built. Then it vanished like it had never been there. "Computer error," Jiho said, but his voice didn't sound sure. "Run a full diagnostic on the sensor array." "Yes, sir," Subin said. But 20 minutes later, it happened again. This time, the sensors detected 5 ships near Mars. They appeared for exactly 4 seconds, then disappeared. On the alien flagship, Sub-Commander Tajin stared at similar readings on his own screens. The Korthak sensors were far better than human technology. They could detect a coin floating in space from 1,000,000 miles away. But these readings made no sense. Ships appeared and vanished across the solar system, sometimes alone, sometimes in groups. The computer called them ghost contacts because they seemed to exist and not exist at the same time. Tajin walked to Admiral Vextar's command station. "Sir, we're detecting unusual activity throughout the system." Vextar looked at the data. His yellow eyes narrowed. "Sensor malfunction. These readings are impossible." "Sir, our sensors don't malfunction," Tajun said carefully. "Perhaps the humans have some kind of stealth technology we don't know about." "Impossible," Vextar snorted. "We have studied human technology for 50 years. They can barely travel between planets. They have no stealth capabilities." But Taijun wasn't so sure. The ghost contacts were appearing more often now, and they were getting bigger. Deep underground on Earth, Dr. Nari stood before a wall of glowing screens. Her laboratory hummed with power. Machines the size of buildings worked day and night, bending the laws of physics in ways most humans couldn't understand. Dr. Seojun ran up to her with a tablet in his hands. "The quantum resonance is stable at 97%, he said. "The phase variance is within acceptable limits." "Good," Nari said. "Begin the second stage activation sequence." Her fingers flew over the control panels. On the screens, numbers changed rapidly. Energy readings climbed higher. And far away, in places that existed between normal space and somewhere else, thousands of ships began to stir. These ships had been built in secret over 50 years. Not in space where alien eyes could see them, but in quantum phase space where they existed in a state between real and not real. They were there and not there at the same time, waiting for the moment when they would choose to exist fully. Captain Suman stood on the bridge of one such ship. The Busan's Vengeance floated in quantum space, invisible to normal sensors. Through her windows, she could see the alien fleet spread across normal space like a dark cloud. The enemy ships looked solid and real, while her own ship seemed to shimmer like a mirage. "Status report," she ordered. "All systems operating normally, Captain," said her first officer, Lieutenant Jinwoo. "The quantum phase generators are holding steady. We can maintain this state for another 60 hours if needed." Suman nodded. Around her ship, thousands of other vessels waited in quantum space. Battleships, carriers, destroyers, and massive command ships that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built in normal space. The Phantom Armada, as they called themselves, had been Earth's greatest secret for 5 decades. "Any word from Earth Command?" Suman asked. "Not yet, Captain. We're still waiting for the activation signal." On Earth, Commander Jiho's secure communication device beeped. He looked around the bridge of Soul's Pride to make sure no one was watching, then read the message. It was from his wife, Dr. Nari. "Come home," the message said. "There's something you need to see." Jiho frowned. Earth was under alien occupation. Military personnel couldn't just leave their posts, but he trusted his wife more than anyone in the universe. If she said he needed to see something, it was important. He called his second-in-command over. "Commander Park, you have the bridge. I'm going down to Earth for a few hours." "Sir, is that wise? The aliens might attack at any moment." "They won't attack yet," Jiho said. "They're waiting for their deadline. They want us to suffer first." He took a small shuttle down to Earth and drove through the empty streets of Seoul. Most people were hiding in their homes, afraid to go outside while alien ships filled the sky. He reached the research center and took the old elevator down to levels that didn't exist on any public map. When he entered Nari's laboratory, his mouth fell open. The room was huge, much bigger than he had ever imagined. Machines covered every wall, humming with power that made the air itself feel electric. Screens showed star maps and energy readings that meant nothing to him. "Jiho," Nari said, running to hug him. "I'm so glad you're here." "What is all this?" he asked, looking around, in wonder. "This is why we're going to win," she said. "This is humanity's real strength." She led him to the main control station. On the central screen, a map showed the solar system. Red dots marked the alien ships. But there were other dots too, blue dots that appeared and disappeared all over the map. "What are those?" Jiho asked. "Those are our ships," Nari said quietly. "The real Earth fleet." Jiho stared at her. "That's impossible. I command the Earth fleet. We only have 300 ships." "You command the decoy fleet," Nari said. "The fleet we wanted the aliens to see. The fleet we've been building for 50 years to look weak and helpless." She pointed at the screen. "Those blue dots are the real fleet, ships that exist in quantum phase space, invisible to normal sensors." "How many?" Jiho whispered. 50,000 ships, Nari said, and growing. Jiho sat down hard in a nearby chair. 50,000, that's impossible. Where did we build them? How did we keep it secret? "We didn't build them in normal space," Nari explained. "We built them between dimensions in quantum phase space. It took us 50 years to develop the technology. 50 years of appearing weak while we prepared for this day." On the alien flagship, the ghost contacts were becoming a serious problem. They appeared every few minutes now, sometimes dozens at a time. Admiral Vextar's officers ran around trying to track them, but it was like trying to catch smoke. Sub-Commander Tajan studied the sensor logs. The contacts always appeared for exactly the same amount of time, 4 seconds. They always vanished, without a trace. And they were getting larger and more numerous. "Sir," he said to Admiral Vextar, "I strongly recommend we move up our attack schedule. Something is happening here that we don't understand." "You're being paranoid," Vextar replied. "Sensor ghosts are common near planets with magnetic fields. It means nothing." But Tajan had served with humans for most of his life. He knew they were clever. They planned ahead. They never did anything without a reason. These ghost contacts weren't random. They were a pattern, a message, a warning. He looked at the countdown timer. 36 hours until the deadline. 36 hours for whatever the humans were planning to come together. Back on Earth, President Minho received a coded message in his bunker. It was from Dr. Nari. "Activation in 24 hours. Prepare for broadcast." Minho closed his eyes and took a deep breath. For 50 years, Earth's leaders had known this day would come. The alien empire was too large, too powerful, too hungry to leave Earth alone forever. So they had prepared. They had built weapons in secret. They had made plans within plans. The hardest part had been the waiting. Letting the aliens think humans were weak. Letting them believe Earth would be an easy conquest. Every test, every probe, every small attack over the decades had been answered with just enough resistance to seem realistic, but never enough to reveal humanity's true strength. "General Park," Minho called to his military commander. "Are our people ready?" "Yes, sir. All Phantom Fleet personnel are at their stations. All secret bases are operational. All sleeper agents are in position throughout the galaxy." "Sleeper agents?" Minho asked. "Humans who left Earth decades ago," Park explained. "They've been living on alien worlds, working in alien governments, learning alien secrets. When the time comes, they'll strike from within." Minho nodded. It was a good plan. A human plan. Patient, careful, and absolutely ruthless when necessary. Above Earth, the alien fleet continued to wait. Admiral Vextar was confident. Sub-Commander Tajan was worried. And in quantum phase space, 50,000 invisible ships prepared to change the course of galactic history. The ghost contacts appeared more frequently now. Every few minutes, sensors throughout the solar system detected massive ships that shouldn't exist. The aliens couldn't see them clearly, couldn't track them, couldn't understand what they were. But they were there, waiting, growing stronger, getting ready to phase into normal space and show the galaxy that humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had ever imagined. 24 hours until activation. 24 hours until the aliens learned the truth about human strength. 24 hours until the Phantom Armada revealed itself and changed everything. 1 hour remained on the alien countdown when space itself began to change. Admiral Vextar stood on his command bridge, watching the timer count down to humanity's destruction. His forearms were crossed in satisfaction. In 60 minutes, Earth would surrender or burn. Either way, the Korthak Empire would win another easy victory. "Sir," called his sensor officer. "The ghost contacts are increasing. We're detecting hundreds of them now." "Ignore them," Vextar commanded. "Focus on targeting Earth's major cities. I want the bombardment to begin exactly when the timer reaches 0. But Sub-Commander Tajin couldn't ignore the readings anymore. The ghost contacts weren't random. They were forming patterns, surrounding the alien fleet, moving into attack positions. It was like watching an invisible army prepare for war. "Admiral," he said urgently, "we need to consider that these contacts might be real. The humans might have—" "Enough!" Vextar roared. "The humans are primitives. They have no technology we haven't seen. They have no tricks we haven't anticipated. In 59 minutes, their pathetic planet will belong to us." Deep under Sol, Dr. Nari stood before the master control panel. Sweat covered her face as she worked. Around her, dozens of technicians monitored the quantum phase generators. The machines hummed with more power than some small stars produced. "Quantum. Field stability at maximum," Dr. Siogen reported. "All Phantom ships are in position. 50,000 vessels ready for phase transition." Nari looked at the countdown timer on her screen. 58 minutes until the alien deadline. She picked up a secure phone and dialed a number. "Mr. President," she said when Minho answered. "We're ready." "Are you sure about this?" Minho asked. "Once we reveal ourselves, there's no going back. The galaxy will know what humanity is capable of, sir. If we don't do this now, there won't be a humanity left to worry about." Minho was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Do it. God help us all, but do it." Nari hung up the phone and turned to her team. "Begin final activation sequence. All stations prepare for quantum phase resonance." Her fingers flew over the controls. On screens throughout the laboratory, numbers climbed toward impossible values. Energy readings went off the charts. And in the space between dimensions, 50,000 ships began to solidify. Captain Suman felt the change first. The Busan's vengeance had floated in quantum space for hours, existing in a state between real and unreal. Now the ship began to feel solid under her feet. The walls became more solid. The air itself seemed to thicken. "All hands, prepare for phase transition," she announced over the ship's communication system. "In 60 seconds, we enter normal space. This is what we've trained for. This is why we exist." Around her ship, the massive Phantom Armada prepared to reveal itself. Battleships, longer than cities. Carriers that could hold 1,000 fighters each. Command ships that looked like flying mountains. All of them had been built in secret, in quantum space, using technology the aliens couldn't imagine. Admiral Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of his flagship, Inchin's Fury. As commander of the Phantom Armada, he had waited 50 years for this moment. His ship was the largest vessel humanity had ever built, twice the size of the alien flagship. Its weapons could crack planets. Its shields existed in 17 different dimensions. "All ships, this is Admiral Hyunwoo," he broadcast to the Phantom fleet. "In 30 seconds, we phase into normal space. Show these aliens what happens when they threaten Earth. Show them what humanity really is." On Earth, Commander Jiho watched the countdown from his wife's laboratory. Through the quantum sensors, He could see the phantom ships beginning to appear at the edges of normal space. They flickered like ghosts, becoming solid, growing more real every second. "It's beautiful," he whispered. "It's justice," Nari replied. 20 seconds until phase transition. The alien sensors began screaming warnings as space itself rippled around their fleet. Reality bent and twisted as 50,000 ships forced themselves from quantum space into normal space. 10 seconds. The ripples became tears in space-time itself. Energy cascaded across multiple dimensions. The alien computers overloaded, trying to process readings that should have been impossible. 5 seconds. Admiral Vextar finally looked up from his timer as alarms rang throughout his ship. "What's happening?" he demanded. "Sir, space is changing," his sensor officer stammered. "Reality itself is shifting around us." 0. The Phantom Armada phased into normal space. 50,000 ships materialized around the alien fleet in a single instant. They appeared from nowhere, emerging from dimensions the aliens didn't know existed. Ships that dwarfed the largest alien vessels. Weapons that glowed with power that bent light around them. Shields that shimmered with energy from parallel universes. The alien sensors went completely insane. Every screen showed contacts appearing faster than the computers could count them. Ships materialized above, below, and on all sides of the alien fleet. They had been surrounded without knowing it, trapped by an enemy they never saw coming. Admiral Vexitar's 4 arms dropped to his sides. His yellow eyes went wide with shock and fear. "This is impossible," he whispered. On the bridge of Inchan's Fury, Admiral Hyunwoo smiled. He was an old man now, gray-haired and wrinkled, but his eyes burned with the fire of someone who had waited his entire life for this moment. "Open all communication channels," he ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves properly." His face appeared on every screen in the alien fleet. His voice was calm, quiet, and absolutely terrifying in its confidence. "Greetings, Admiral Vextar. I am Admiral Hyunwoo of the Earth Phantom Armada. You demanded our surrender. We decline." Vextar found his voice. "This is impossible. Humans don't have technology like this. Our scouts have watched you for decades." "Your scouts saw exactly what we wanted them to see," Hyunwoo replied. "A weak, divided species with primitive technology. We've been very good at appearing helpless. It's one of our many talents." Around the alien fleet, the phantom ships moved into perfect attack formations. They didn't hurry. They didn't threaten. They simply existed, and their very presence was threat enough. Sub-Commander Tajin stared at the screens in wonder and terror. As a human, he felt pride seeing what his former species had accomplished. As a member of the alien fleet, he felt fear at what was about to happen. "How many ships?" Vexitar asked weakly. 50,000 in this fleet," Hyunwoo said, "with more in reserve. We've been building them for 50 years, Admiral. 50 years of planning for this exact moment." Captain Suman's ship, the Busan's Vengeance, slid into position next to a massive alien cruiser. Her ship was twice as large and radiated power that made the space around it glow blue. The alien crew could see her through their windows, and she could see the fear in their eyes. "All Phantom ships, this is Admiral Hyunwoo," came the broadcast. "Begin communications jamming. Cut them off from their empire. Let them know they're alone out here." Across the Phantom fleet, jamming systems activated. The alien ships found themselves cut off from their homeworlds, unable to call for help. They were trapped in a bubble of space controlled entirely by humanity. "You see, Admiral Vextar," Hyunwoo continued, "we've been watching your empire for a very long time. We've studied your tactics. We've learned your weaknesses. We've prepared for every move you might make." Vextar tried to regain his composure. "Even with these ships, you cannot defeat the entire Korthak Empire. We have millions of vessels throughout the galaxy." "Do you?" Hyunwoo asked. "Are you sure about that?" On his command screen, new reports began flowing in. Phantom ships were appearing throughout the galaxy. Secret human bases were activating on dozens of worlds. Sleeper agents were striking at alien command centers from within. "You see, Admiral, we didn't just build ships in secret. We built an entire shadow civilization. For 50 years, humans have been living on your worlds, working in your governments, learning your secrets. Today they all act at once. The reports kept coming. An alien fortress world near the galactic core had gone silent. A major Korthak shipyard was under attack by ships that appeared from nowhere. Human agents had seized control of communication networks on a dozen alien planets. This is impossible, Vextar said again. Humans are weak. Humans are primitive. Humans are very good at being underestimated, Hyunwoo said. We learned long ago that appearing weak is often more useful than appearing strong. You see what you expect to see. Today you see what we really are. Captain Dongmin's ship, Seoul's Pride, had been part of the decoy fleet. Now he watched in amazement as the phantom ships surrounded him. His tiny battleship looked like a toy next to the massive phantom vessels. All decoy fleet ships. This is Admiral Hyunwoo, came the broadcast. Thank you for your service. You played your parts perfectly. Now stand back and watch real Earth power in action. Dongmin felt tears in his eyes. For years he had commanded what he thought was humanity's greatest warship. Now he understood that his ship was just a prop in a play. The real strength of humanity had been hidden from even him. On Earth, President Minho watched the battle unfold from his bunker. The aliens were completely surrounded, completely outgunned, and completely terrified. Their mighty empire had been reduced to a trapped fleet in a matter of minutes. Open a channel to the alien flagship, he ordered. When Admiral Vextar's face appeared on screen, Minho smiled. 6 months after the phantom ships disappeared, Admiral Vextar sat across from Admiral Hyunwoo in a conference room aboard the massive human vessel, Seoul's Eternity. The alien admiral looked older now, his gray skin duller, his 4 arms moving slowly. Defeat had aged him in ways that time never could. Your terms are reasonable, Vextar admitted quietly. More reasonable than I would have offered if our positions were reversed. Hyunwoo nodded. That's the difference between us, Admiral. We don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to make sure no one else rules it either. The peace treaty spread. Across the table between them was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of demanding tribute or territory, humanity asked only for 3 things. The complete liberation of all slave species, the dissolution of the Imperial fleet, and the establishment of a galactic council where every species had an equal voice. The Korthak people will not like this, Vextar said. For centuries we have been the rulers. To become just another voice among many. Your people will adapt, Hyunwoo said. Or they will face the phantom fleet again. The choice is theirs. Outside the conference room windows, space looked empty to normal eyes. But Vextar had learned to see the subtle distortions that marked phantom ships. Even now, invisible vessels surrounded the meeting. Humanity had not lowered its guard. On Earth, President Minho walked through the gardens outside his office in Seoul. The alien ships were gone from the sky, but the memory of their shadow remained. Children played in the sunshine, laughing and running as if the world had never been threatened. Their parents watched with eyes that still remembered fear. Mr. President, said his aide, approaching with a tablet, we've received the final reports from the liberation efforts. 237 worlds have been freed. 8.4 million beings have been relocated to their original home worlds. 43 species that were thought extinct have been found alive in alien slave camps. Minho nodded. The numbers were staggering, but each one represented lives saved, families reunited, civilizations restored. Any word from the Phantom Fleet? Admiral Hyunwoo reports that all ships have successfully returned to quantum space. The fleet is at full strength and ready for deployment if needed. Let's hope it's never needed again, Minho said. But deep in his heart, he knew better. The galaxy was a dangerous place. Other empires would rise. Other species would attempt conquest. When they did, the phantom ships would be waiting. Dr. Nari stood in her rebuilt laboratory, watching quantum field readings that monitored the phantom fleet. The generators had been upgraded with alien technology captured during the war. Now, they could maintain thousands of ships in quantum space indefinitely. The phase variance is stable at all levels, Dr. Seojin reported. The new quantum anchors are working perfectly. We can keep the fleet hidden for as long as necessary. Good, Nari said. Begin the expansion project. We'll need more ships if we're going to patrol the entire galaxy. The expansion project was humanity's new goal. Not conquest, but protection. Phantom shipyards in quantum space would build new vessels. Human agents would continue to live on alien worlds, watching for signs of imperial ambition. The galaxy would have guardians now, invisible protectors who struck only when necessary. Captain Suman, now promoted to admiral, commanded the Phantom Fleet's exploration division. Her ship, the upgraded Busan's Vengeance, phased between star systems searching for species that needed help. Sometimes they found colonies under attack by pirates. Sometimes they discovered civilizations on the verge of destroying themselves. Always they appeared exactly when hope seemed lost. Admiral, her communications officer reported, "We're receiving a distress signal from the Kepler system. A species, called the Vorthon, is under attack by raiders. Set course for Kepler," Suman ordered. "Phase into normal space at maximum range. Let's see what we're dealing with." The Busan's Vengeance materialized at the edge of the Kepler system like a silver ghost becoming solid. Through her sensors, Suman could see a peaceful world under bombardment by crude warships. The attackers had no idea they were being watched. "All raider vessels," she broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Admiral Suman of the Earth Phantom Fleet. You have 60 seconds to withdraw from this system or face the consequences." The raider ships spun around, searching for the source of the transmission. Their sensors couldn't detect Suman's ship, which existed partially in quantum space. "This is Captain Grex of the Blood Ravens," came the reply. "We see no ships. We fear no ghosts. This world belongs to us now." 30 seconds, Suman said calmly. When the time expired, she gave a simple order. "Disable their engines. Minimal force." The Busan's Vengeance opened fire with weapons that bent space around their targets. The raider ships found their engines simply ceasing to exist, their hulls intact but their ability to flee removed. Within minutes, they were helpless and surrounded by Vorthon defense ships. "The Vorthon people are safe," Suman reported to Admiral Hyunwoo. "The raiders have been captured. Justice will be handled by the local authorities." "Excellent work," Hyunwoo replied. "Return to patrol. The galaxy is large, and there are many who need our protection." On the former alien capital world, Taijin worked with a team of human administrators to establish the new Galactic Council. As someone who had served both sides, he understood better than anyone how to bridge the gap between species. The Korthak delegation is still resistant to the idea of equal representation, he reported to President Minho during a quantum communication call. "They believe their experience should give them more authority." "Their experience is why they have no authority," Minho replied. "Make that clear to them, gently but clearly." Taijin smiled. After 10 years serving an empire based on fear and domination, he found it refreshing to work for a government that preferred diplomacy to force. "Understood, sir. I'll handle it." The new galactic order was based on principles humanity had developed over centuries of internal conflict. Democracy instead of dictatorship, cooperation instead of conquest, protection of the weak instead of exploitation by the strong. Commander Jiho, now promoted to Admiral of the reformed Earth Defense Force, oversaw the integration of alien refugees into human society. Thousands of former slaves had chosen to settle on Earth, bringing their knowledge and cultures to humanity's homeworld. "The Talarian engineers want to help us improve our quantum generators," he reported to Dr. Nari. "Their mathematics is different from ours, but they might be able to increase efficiency by 30%. "Set up a joint research project," Nari agreed. "But keep the core quantum phase technology classified. Some secrets must remain ours alone." It was a delicate balance. Humanity wanted to share knowledge and build trust, but they also needed to maintain their technological advantage. The Phantom Fleet was their guarantee of peace. It had to remain invincible. Captain Dongmin, whose small ship had been part of the original decoy fleet, now commanded one of the new Phantom destroyers. The vessel was built with lessons learned from captured alien technology, but its heart was pure human engineering. It's strange, he told his first officer as they patrolled the Outer Rim territories. 6 months ago, I thought my old ship was the pinnacle of human achievement. Now I command a vessel that can exist in 17 dimensions simultaneously. Progress happens fast when you're motivated, the officer replied. The aliens motivated us very well. Dongmin laughed. That they did. I wonder if they regret demanding our surrender. Throughout the galaxy, the Phantom Fleet maintained its invisible watch. Ships phased between star systems, appearing to stop conflicts before they could escalate. Pirates found their fleets disabled by invisible attackers. Would-be conquerors discovered that their target worlds were protected by guardians that struck from the shadows. The galaxy began to change. Without the threat of imperial conquest, smaller species started to flourish. Trade routes opened between worlds that had never known peace. Art and science advanced as civilizations no longer had to focus solely on survival. Dr. Nari, now in her 70s, stood in the observatory above Sol and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, her quantum generators powered a fleet that kept the peace. Her life's work had become the guardian of galactic freedom. Any regrets? Asked Commander Jiho, now her husband of 30 years, as he joined her at the window. None, she said, taking his hand. We did what we had to do. We protected what needed protecting. Above them, invisible to their eyes but present nonetheless, phantom patrol ships kept watch over Earth. The homeworld of the species that had changed everything was the most protected planet in the galaxy. President Minho, now elderly and preparing to step down, gave his final address to the Galactic Council. Representatives from hundreds of species listened as he spoke about the future. 6 months ago, an empire demanded our surrender, he said. Today, we all work together as equals. This is not because humanity is stronger than everyone else. It is because we learned that true strength comes from protecting others, not conquering them. He paused, looking around the great hall at faces from dozens of different worlds. The Phantom Fleet will always be there, he continued. Not to rule, but to guard. Not to conquer, but to protect. Any species that threatens the peace we have built together will face consequences.